Recently, in the past month to about 2 months, really, the mainstream media has started to cover more about the documents that were obtained around Epstein and his connections to the business world. They've been focusing predominantly on Bill Gates's connection to Epstein and a few other people which were already kind of known to have connections to him. And if you have a brain, they were more than just, business dinners or like temporary connections. Now, the mainstream has been focusing on the Bill Gates and Jeffrey Epstein connection more so than that of 4 big businessmen. I mean, like really rich fucking businessmen, some of the best, who have ties to Epstein and were made to appear in court via subpoena by the court that is, investigating all of this. And they all had connections to Epstein. One of them is a Pritzker, yes, like Illinois' governor, J.B. Pritzker, and a former Disney president. But before we go on and get more into those connections the mainstream media has not been covering, cue intro. Now, the Wall Street Journal dropped its second load of Epstein documents here at the end of April. And why are they really just now focusing on it as of April and kind of like early to mid-May time instead of when all this stuff started happening? And also, why are they primarily pushing the focus onto Bill Gates senpai, considering the fact of the matter that there are 4 of the largest businessmen being involved with this recent documents drop? It doesn't take a rocket scientist to kind of grasp that Epstein and Gates were pretty close with one another, especially with all the dinners that they shared over the years. Not only that, but this horde of Epstein documents dumped by the Wall Street Journal has no sense of transparency with where they got them from or why they obtained them. Kind of conspicuous, isn't it? Now, Whitney Webb, a very intelligent / credible author, journalist, and researcher, says that these documents, plus a lot of the names circulating in the mainstream media around this Epstein case, such as Senpai Bill Gates, Ava Dubin, Tracy Summers, etc., are, in quotes, nothing new in this case and have been circulating since 2019. They're also probably a distraction to take off a lot of the attention which would otherwise be put on these 4 wealthy billionaires that were asked to, show up in court via subpoena. A smokescreen. I think it's a very likely possibility. That is a classic textbook sort of distraction, so that way the masses will be distracted with something or somebody else and won't pay attention or know what's going on overall with something in general or a event. It would make sense too if this was being done so that way these people could get away with more too and not really get punished for anything, and essentially just get a slap on the wrist with nobody really knowing about it. We should have public coverage of all of this stuff. In the JP Morgan versus Virgin Islands lawsuit evolution, 2 particular names happen to stand out. The first one is that of Google co-founders Sergey Brin, and number 2 happens to be a former Disney president, Michael Ovitz. Yeah, that's right, this guy. Now, these billionaires were subpoenaed by SVI, which happened to have quite a number of documents on JP Morgan and Epstein's trafficking ring. Wonder why they'd ask them to appear in court then. It's not like Google's a corrupt big tech company which started off as a government startup that now happens to censor free speech on anything that they don't want you guys to know about. No. And how could Michael Ovitz be connected to Epstein? He was the head of Disney. It's not like anyone that ever comes out of there could be bad or anything.
To Epstein and having a former Walt Disney president being that close to Epstein are pretty significant. And as far as the Disney ties go, when Orvitz was head of Disney, the head of the Imagineering department at Disney was a guy named Brand Farron. And while Farron was in that role at Disney, he was advising the US military, intelligence, all sorts of shady actors. And he brought to the Imagineering department close associates of Epstein like Marvin Minsky and Danny Hillis, who were very closely involved with the development of military supercomputers, creating artificial intelligence, all sorts of very odd things. And the fact that they'd be involved in a company like Disney, which of course targets mainly children. And of course, Minsky was named, for example, as being a key part of the sex trafficking operations by people like Virginia Giuffre, for example. This is pretty astounding. So the fact that we're having these names come out with the Wall Street Journal piece, people are now instead talking about Noam Chomsky, talking about Bill Gates, and not talking about these people who have been subpoenaed in a legal case about Epstein's sex trafficking network. No one's talking about them.
Huh, yeah, why exactly has there been no mainstream coverage on this whole connection to the 4 billionaires we have that were subpoenaed? Could it be that if people were shown this, that it would enlighten them on how potentially interwoven this whole ring is to the big business side of America and the US government? It seems likely to me.
And there are some important revelations here, and I think the bulk of those revelations, at least ones that are new, were in the first installment of this recent round of Wall Street Journal reporting. But in the second piece, I do think it's pretty interesting that they keep bringing up the fact that Epstein was describing himself as being a money manager for Bill Gates. I think that definitely needs to be pursued. And I think one of the reasons that mainstream media even will not do that isn't just because of how extensively Gates funds a lot of mainstream media outlets.
Now, if you guys aren't already, please smash the shit out of that like button, or, punch the fucking shit out of the subscribe button. It really does help us out here, and it helps us to get this information to even more people and further up in the algorithm, so that way there are, just more people that know about this stuff, and corruption like this is more likely to be exposed, in turn making it less likely to happen. Also does, help your boy out too, and let me know what you guys are enjoying. But with that little part being out of the way, let's go ahead and get back into talking about this whole connection of Disney to Epstein.
But it's also related to the fact that if you look at Epstein's history, he's tied to a series of Microsoft top executives who flew on his plane in the 1990s and who connected him with MIT Media Lab, for example, and all sorts of other activities, were very much involved with his what he was doing, and apparently his sex trafficking activities. Actually, Nathan Myhrvold, the chief technology officer of Microsoft who flew on Epstein's plane in the late 90s, was named by Alan Dershowitz, actually, as a person that abused minors that Epstein trafficked. That's astounding.
We've actually done a video on that and how Bill Gates bankrolls mainstream media, and particularly a lot of very liberal-leaning medias, or hard left-leaning sort of mainstream media, news networks, etc. If you guys want to, you can see that up here, and I'll leave a link for it in the description below. But we'll go ahead and, let you guys listen to the rest of what Whitney Webb here has to say.
Very, very close to Bill Gates, obviously. And another top Microsoft executive, Linda Stone, hired a woman from Epstein's entourage as her secretary, and is the person that connected him to the MIT Media Lab, which, if you believe a lot of what's in these Wall Street Journal revelations, was a key reason for a lot of these people, including Chomsky, meeting with Epstein, related to his activities in and around MIT. So
take note, by the way, too, that a man who has connections to Epstein, or had connections, was the head of the Imagineering department at Disney while having heavy ties with the intelligence community and being actively in the military while Michael Ovitz was president, which in itself is interesting and could be a connection from the government to this trafficking ring, kind of like what we learned or was suggested pretty heavily by HHS whistleblower Tara Lee Rodas with the US border crisis and these trafficking rings, kind of, hinting that the US government might be a sort of middleman for a lot of this, which would make a lot of sense. And we talked about that in one of our previous videos. And we have a link for that right up here or in the description below. Quite a few interesting connections to the whole Epstein trafficking ring, especially since it's arguably connected to Disney now. Think about it too. Their target audience is children. It wouldn't surprise me at all if they were to abuse that sort of image to benefit this trafficking ring. Priests do it all the fucking time. And look how much they get away with it. I've been saying for quite a number of years that it wouldn't surprise me at all if this was the case and, they abused that sort of image for their nefarious activities. In addition to, also saying that I wouldn't be shocked if Walt Disney himself had been a pedo, given the fact of the matter, some of the creepy freaking things that were found in his original artworks. I'm someone who loved Disney growing up too. Not to mention that he wasn't exactly the greatest man from what I've heard / researched. The man was kind of racist and, just not always the greatest man. Mind you, it is, yes, very possible that he just happened to be racist given the time period he was in. And it wouldn't be uncommon, not meaning that it's right or anything. He also could have just genuinely loved kids, but it'd also be the perfect guise or mask pretty much to cover up what fucked up things he might have been doing. Now, with the whole Bill Gates / Epstein connection, the mainstream will say that it doesn't really stem out or stretch before / past 2011. However, there are also a number of ties to Microsoft itself. And also, the fact that Epstein and Bill Gates happen to share quite a few interests when it comes to science. Gates also hired Melanie Walker, who happened to be Epstein's science advisor at the time that she was hired for Microsoft. It was also being stated at the time by the UK mainstream media in 2000 that Epstein made a large portion of his money from business connections to people like Donald Trump, Leslie Wexner, and who? Bill Gates senpai? Nani? A little too ironic, right? Now with Thomas Pritzker, just like anyone else that was subpoenaed to appear in court here, had significant ties with Epstein and were asked after these documents were seized, in addition to being reviewed. So it should really come as no surprise that there's a certain amount of significance with funding connections to Epstein. But with Thomas, think about how he's a chairman of hotels, how he could use that whole freaking status position to basically use those hotels for the nefarious deeds of this trafficking ring and kind of hide it decently well. Chicago is also a place known for corruption, which happens to have quite a large number of Hyatt hotels in them. From a quick Google search, it's actually apparently 24. That's a significant number. I'd also like to add that it's very ironic how the anime convention runner of Anime Midwest, a big convention hoster, Ryan Kopp, was confirmed to have been involved in a sexual assault at Anime Milwaukee in 2018, which happened to, take place at a Hyatt hotel. He has been banned from hosting there since. However, though, Anime Midwest has continued across, the Midwest here in the United States. Even after that fact, at several Hyatt hotels, especially in Rosemont, Illinois. I used to go there, actually, as a matter of fact. I just kind of find it really ironic that this is coming out about Thomas Pritzker and that had happened at one of the hotels of which he is the head of the directors at. I don't know, just some food for thought. That's me it for us, though, my dudes. Let me know what you guys think about this stuff. Is it fucked up that the mainstream media has not been talking about these connections to the 4 billionaires? Do you guys think as well that it's very possible for it to be a sort of smokescreen for these people so that way they are, you know, less likely to be in the public eye and potentially able to get away with more and just a slap on the wrist? Let me know in the comment section below. I'd really love to hear what your guys' thoughts and opinions are on this stuff. And if you did make it to the end, go and leave the word smokescreen in the comments section down below to let me know that you made it to the end and you guys are part of the 100% Club. Also, don't forget to, you know, smash that like button or click the subscribe if you guys haven't already, or share this out to more people so that way they can see unbiased, completely raw and uncensored freaking info on these issues and the corruption within the systems that we live in. The more we get out there, the less likely this stuff is to happen, and you know, the more people will be educated on this stuff. Not to mention, it does also help your boy out and helps this YouTube channel grow and become an even larger force to challenge / oppose the corruption of the systems that we are part of. Also, if you guys would like a more interactive experience with us, come join us live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on streams from 8:30 to 10:30 p.m. Central Time, where we do things like play Pokemon Unite, Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, share dark humor memes, talk about conspiracies such as this with factual basis, and just, you know, vibe out and have a good time. We'd always love to have more people in there because the more the merrier, right? Feel free to check out our Discord tribe as well too, where we have movie / weeb night every other Friday. Watch things like anime, cartoons, documentary series on things like how Hitler didn't kill himself with CIA and FBI investigation backing, or shows like Cities of the Underworld from the History Channel, which is pretty badass and cool as shit. Or, you know, we even can just watch dark humor memes there if we want to. But nonetheless, though, some quality fun. And we also, you know, have philosophical / spiritual discussions, political ones as well too, respectfully of course, and you know, just share a community vibe there. Only rules are, you know, just can't be a dick, be a decent human being, and gotta be able to take a joke, because we share dark humor memes in there. So arguably, you know, not gonna be the place for you if you can't handle a joke, or, you know, can't take people giving you a little bit of shit. But that's gonna be it for us today, my dudes. Sorry for the late upload. I meant to upload this, you know, over 2 weeks ago, but YouTube struck me for medical misinformation for the second time now on, you know, a old stream of mine, which happened to talk about the TikTok ban, and they didn't really give me any context as what was medical misinformation. So, quality time. Anytime we talk about that stuff, we're just gonna say supposedly now. So, just so you guys are aware, probably get over to Rumble here so that way I don't have to worry about that stuff and you guys can watch the full uncensored version if you're like me and you don't like censored crap. Either way though, my dudes, I hope you guys have a good rest of your day and have some good vibes flowing around you and within. But until next time though, please don't forget to live long and prosper, take care and peace, keep it 1,000,000% real, and as always, fuck the system. I will see you guys on the flip side. Yo!